Let's get the latest now on the arguments within the Labour Party, because this morning the leader Jeremy Corbyn has said he deeply regrets comments by the Labour MP Angela Eagle, who said Mr Corbyn had allowed a permissive environment for the abuse of MPs opposed to him. We can talk now to our political correspondent Ian Watson, who's in Westminster. Ian.
Yes, that's right. Angela Eagle was quoted in the Telegraph this morning saying that her leader, Jeremy Corbyn, was stirring things up, and he'd created a permissive environment which allowed abuse against MPs and indeed people who didn't support him to exist. As you remember, there was the incident at her constituency office where a brick was thrown through a window. Now, obviously, some of his supporters say not only did they have nothing to do with that, but it wasn't clear that it was aimed at her office. Nonetheless, it was disconcerting for her, to say the least. She then had a death threat, and someone was arrested in connection with that. So I put her comments that Jeremy Corbyn himself was allowing these things to happen and that he was stirring things up directly to the Labour leader earlier this morning.
I really regret that Angela has used comments like that. I regret the incident at her office, and I apologised. I didn't apologise, I didn't cause it, but I said to her, I'm very sorry at what happened to her office that day, and I called her straight away and told her that. And I have made it absolutely clear that harassment, abusive language have absolutely no place in our political discourse. I receive plenty of abusive language. I don't respond to it in any way because I don't wish to demean myself or promote the person that's using that kind of abusive language. And I think we should lower the temperature and increase the quality of our debate.
There was an investigation going on into the Wallasey constituency, Angela Eagle's constituency, by the Labour Party, looking into allegations of abuse and intimidation. I'm joined now by Jeremy Corbyn's leadership challenger, Owen Smith. We heard Jeremy Corbyn there, Owen Smith, saying that people in effect should rise above this abuse. He gets a lot of abuse himself. People shouldn't respond to it, but of course he condemns it. What's your reaction to what Angela Eagle was saying?
Well, I think Jeremy should take a little more responsibility for what's going on in the Labour Party. After all, we didn't have this sort of abuse and intolerance, misogyny, anti-Semitism in the Labour Party before Jeremy Corbyn became the leader. It's now become something that is being talked about on television, on radio, in our newspapers. And Angela is right, it has been effectively licensed in the last 9 months. We're the Labour Party. We've got to be about fairness and tolerance and equality. It's in our DNA. So for us to be reduced to this infighting is awful. Now, I understand why people feel passionately about the future of our party. I feel passionately about that. I feel we're in danger of splitting and being destroyed. But we can't tolerate, and it isn't good enough for Jeremy simply to say he has threats too. Well, I have the death threat, I've had threats too, but I'm telling him it's got to be stamped out. We've got to have zero tolerance of this in the Labour Party.
He said he's trying to lower the temperature. You can't blame him, surely.
Well, I can't blame him for not standing up and saying more clearly over the last 9 months that this is something that cannot be tolerated. You know, the truth is, many of the people who are heaping abuse on MPs and on others are Jeremy's supporters. It's just a fact that it is Jeremy's side of the argument, if you like, that is engaging in this great volume of abuse. You've just got to look at my Twitter feed or my Facebook page to know that's true. So I don't think Jeremy can duck his responsibility, and he's the leader of the Labour Party, and leadership means setting an example, not just in how you act, but what you tell you expect of others. And his supporters need to be told that they've got to desist from this sort of systematic abuse.
OK, leadership also been setting out party policy. After the referendum, Jeremy Corbyn said that the government ought to invoke Article 50, that 2-year process of us leaving the EU. Last night on the BBC, he said actually he didn't mean that at all. He simply meant that Article 50 at some stage would be triggered. Are you clear where he stands, and where does the Labour Party stand on now triggering Article 50?
Well, I'm absolutely not clear where Jeremy stands, and that was the problem. We weren't clear where Jeremy stood really during the referendum campaign. That's why so many people weren't clear about Labour's views. That's why I fear we didn't play as full a part as we should have done in stopping Brexit, in arguing our case, because Jeremy, of course, before Brexit was in favour of us leaving the European Union, and afterwards I think it was just a bit of a Freudian slip that he thought, well, here we go, we're out now, let's get on with it. He's now changed his mind and flip-flopped on that. I'm very clear We are much better off in Europe. I respect the decision that's been taken, but we now need to get into serious negotiations, and if necessary, at the end of those negotiations, we could have a second referendum or a general election in which we ask the British people if they're definitely sure they want what we've now can see we're going to get.
Okay, so you're saying very clearly that if you were Labour leader, there would be a second referendum once these negotiations are concluded. One other thing I want to ask you related to that is that the new Chancellor of the Exchequer has said, look, come the autumn statement, if things aren't working out, if indeed Brexit is causing difficulties, we could reset our fiscal policy. Does that mean that in effect that everyone is anti-austerity now, including the Conservative government?
Well, it's too late is the problem, I think, to wait until the autumn budget. We've now got warning signals flashing amber right across the economic dashboard in this country.
So you would borrow more and spend more now?
I'm very clear that we should be having a £200 billion injection of funding into this country, a British New Deal in order to rebuild the physical and social infrastructure, schools, hospitals, housing. That's the stuff we should be getting on with immediately. And where we've got shovel-ready projects, we should be putting the money into those in order to stimulate our economy. But we may need to do more, and we truthfully waited too long in 2008-9 when we were on the brink of that recession to intervene. Hammond may choose, the Chancellor, that he's going to do that, and I will support him if he wants to put a stimulus package in, but it's not good enough to say he's going to reset it in a couple of months' time. He needs to get on with it right now. Labour should be saying this. Where is our front bench in making these arguments?
Okay, well, you're saying it now. That's Owen Smith, the leadership challenger to Jeremy Corbyn, saying that he would welcome what Philip Hammond does if he resets fiscal policy, but obviously coming out with his own policy, which is this £200 billion investment in infrastructure. A lot of it will be about policy over the next couple of months during this Labour leadership contest, but a lot of it too will be about personalities, and very, very interesting to hear a different approach from Owen Smith than we had from Jeremy Corbyn on this question of the kind of abuse in the atmosphere inside the Labour Party at the moment.
OK, Ian, thank you very much. Ian Watson at Westminster.